In this video, I'm gonna dive into my setup and workflow when it comes to using the MPC X and the 2000 XL. I'm gonna show how I routed everything, how the MIDI is set up, and how I walk through the sequences and some of the pros and cons with the setup. And then eventually, I'm gonna show how I imported it into the DAW and show you and walk through something I cooked up recently. So let's get into it. All right, so we have the MPC X, we got the 2000 XL. Everything is routed to a Behringer mixer. I like the summing in the Behringer mixer. I would suggest getting a large format. I have a larger format, but the power supply was messed up on that. So dusted this thing off, pulled it out, routed everything to it, and then out of the Behringer, it's going into, I had it routed into a Zulu, the Zulu tape simulator. But I've been experimenting with routing it to the tape simulator and then straight to the interface. That's pretty much the setup. One thing about it is the flexibility with the summing mixer, and the sound quality is pretty good. Like, you can really get away with it, especially if you have a high pass filter, low pass filter. You can mix straight from the summing mixer or from the mixer and use the summing from an analog mixer. I love the sound of analog summing, so that's one thing to consider. But in this case, everything is eventually going into the DAW. I'm using Reason. I like the automation. I love mixing in Reason. But the sound quality of analog summing is still my preference. I just love the flexibility of the DAW. So let's dive into something I cooked up recently using the MPC X and the 2000 XL and how I kind of merged the two sounds. All right, so the first step was chopping the sample. This sample came out of the Boogeyman 80 pack. It's called Reflections. I'm gonna just hop right into the final product. I chopped it up, reversed some of the samples, just trying to get a vibe, trying to get a feel of where I wanted to go with it. So I'm gonna play how I chopped it up by itself. And on that actual channel, I put the air filter on there, filter some of that low end out, put the cutoff frequency at 200 hertz, just so I can leave space for the bass later. So after I laid the sample chop down, I got some drums from the Boogeyman 80 bonus drum folder and created a kit. So with that kit, I did a simple drum cadence. So I'm gonna play that with the sample chop together. So with that, I actually took the way I used the MPC 2000 XL in this case. I was playing around with using the sequence from the 2000 XL. And there's two ways I do it. I use the sequence. I either do a sequence in the 2000 XL, control it with MIDI from the MPC X, and then have the sequence playing at the same time the X is playing. But in this case, the triggering on the 2000 XL, this is one of the cons about older machines, is the pad sensors need to be replaced. So I was getting some double triggers and some unwanted triggers of other samples within the pad bank. So I decided to resample through the 2000 XL, kind of using it as an effects and tone unit, and then sampling the drum samples into the DAW in this example, so I could have more control over the sequence and I didn't get those double triggers. So I'm gonna show you real quick how I sampled into the 2000 XL. I took the raw drum triggers. After I sampled them, I trimmed each drum sample, got it to where I wanted it to be, and then just played it off of the 2000 XL. So after I sampled everything in, I just manually triggered each drum sample into the DAW. I could have done the program on the 2000 XL, but like I said, I was getting some triggering issues that were giving me a headache, so I just went straight into the DAW with it so I could manipulate it more. All right, so after I got the drum sitting right, I decided to add some ear candy, some sound effects. So I created a sound effects kit within the MPC X using the same Boogeyman 80 pack. So after that, I created a sequence around the drums and the sample chop I already had. So I'm gonna play that. So after that, I took some vocal dialogue from the same pack, chopped it up.
Will be all in the best topics. Will be redirect you to recent events. Warning.
Created a sequence with that as well. So here's everything with the vocal dialogue chopped up, blended with the drums and the sound effects. All right, let's break down the bass sample. It's a one shot coming from the same pack. It's really just one note. The original bass line was filtered out, and then I actually created a key group in here, but ended up using Reason to trigger that bass sound. And it's really just this F note. Same sound. This bass coming from the pack. It's called Underworld, I think. Yeah, Underworld. So in this version, you're gonna hear the bass filtered out. But in the final mix, you'll end up hearing the bass, and I'm gonna play that. All right, so you see how the tone and Reason was different. It allowed me to tweak some things a little bit more, bring some sounds up in volume. You could do all of this from the X. Like I said before, man, using the analog mixer gives it a different tone too. But Reason is my go-to in terms of DAW, so I bounced everything out into that. There's one sequence that I'm gonna play that really served as the intro to the overall thing, and it really just came from the main sample chop. So it's really just this main chop, which was reversed, and then added some vocal dialogue to it. So I'm gonna just play it all. All right, so here's the final version. Everything dumped into Reason. This is the intro sequence, and this is before the Zulu export. I'm gonna play the Zulu export as well, so you can hear the difference in tones. Rest.